for joining us this evening. My name is Evan Mason. I work at the Center for Jewish Education at UJA Federation. I'm joined by my colleague, Alexandra Sipos-Kosas. I'll let you introduce yourself, Alex. There we go.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Alexandra Sipos-Kosas. I'm the project manager for the UJA Community Scholarship site, and I'm happy to be here and share some information with you tonight.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. So we have scheduled for an hour. We have a presentation we're going to do, and we're going to save time for Q&A at the end. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. At the end, we will get to as many as possible. We'll try to, if there's anything that's too specific, we may skip that. We're trying to get ones that apply to as many people as possible. So let's get into it. Little agenda for this evening's presentation. We're going to go through the Jewish Day School scholarship options. We're then going to go through some of the eligibility criteria, the calculator that's been built for the programs, how you apply, what the actual application process and next steps are, and finally at the end, the questions and answers. So by way of background, we know that Jewish education is fundamental to the future vibrancy and vitality of our community, and that's why we're here, and that's why we're having this webinar and why tuition assistance exists. We want as many people as possible to be able to access Jewish education. A few years ago, we moved all of the applications online to the UJA Community Scholarships portal. So that's new, and we've been adding more to it over the years. So right now on that Community Scholarships portal, it did start with just day school. Now we have camps on there, part-time school, March of the Living, and we're going to continue to add things to that portal. So we've really developed a one-stop shop for how to apply, or we're continuing to develop and adding more and more. So we hope to be one place where you can apply for all sorts of community scholarship options. So let's get into it for the Jewish Day School options. Oops. So there are 4 different things that we'll touch upon. Regular tuition assistance, some Jewish high school scholarships. That's really a Tannenbaum Chat program, Generations Trust Scholarship, and Jewish Free Loan. We're just going to spend very briefly on the Jewish high school and Jewish Free Loan, and most of our time is going to be on the tuition assistance program and the Generations Trust Scholarship. So the high school scholarship, Tannenbaum Chat has a program just for their school. You can visit their website. We'll throw the link into the chat as well. And that's a program that reduces tuition for certain families with a very minimal application process. We're not going to go through that as much. That is really a school-specific program. The other one is Jewish Free Loan Toronto, which offers for day school families a interest-free loan, which is available to you. You do have to qualify, but there's lower barriers to get that as well. So we're not going to get into that too much. You can go to both those websites to learn more. Give me 1 second. Okay, eligibility. We have a short video, which I think will walk you through it, and then afterwards we'll come back and we'll talk a little more.
Think your family won't qualify for day school tuition relief? You may be surprised. Let's compare your options and figure out which is best for you. The 2 main programs are UJA's Regular Tuition Assistance Program, which has been supporting day school families for over 40 years, and the Generations Trust Scholarship, UJA's newest day school financial assistance program, which offers tuition support for families who may not qualify for the regular tuition assistance program. Let's start by comparing each program's eligibility criteria. The regular tuition assistance program is for families with any number of children enrolled at 1 or more UJA-funded elementary and/or high schools. In comparison, the Generations Trust Scholarship is for families with up to 3 children enrolled in JK to grade 8 at one or more UJA-funded elementary Jewish day schools. Next, let's take a look at how decisions are made for each program. Decisions for the regular tuition assistance program are made by each school's review committee and are based on your family's financial circumstances. In comparison, your maximum total tuition fee under the Generations Trust Scholarship is based on a percentage of your household income. Visit www.generationstrust.ca to get started.
So that saved me a little talking. We'll spend a little bit of time on this slide. I want to just reiterate some of the points that were made. So there are two major programs, the Generations Trust Scholarship and regular tuition assistance. So the Generations Trust Scholarship is for up to 3 kids in JK through grade 8 at obviously elementary school if they're JK through grade 8. The way that works is it is a straight percentage of your income. And if you go to the generationstrust.ca website, there's a calculator you can use that will calculate exactly how much you'll owe. And we'll go through an example or two on this webinar. The regular tuition assistance program is for any number of kids, including high school up to grade 12. And it takes a more holistic view of your family finances. So the Generations Trust Scholarship is really just a percentage of income, while the regular tuition assistance program takes a fuller view. I want to be clear as well that the regular tuition assistance program is available for anybody. So there are families, unfortunately, who would qualify for Generations Trust. However, there's a lot of medical expenses or other things like that. So they need a more holistic view. So the regular tuition assistance program is always available to apply for, which would take into account all those other factors. I will say, though, that unless you're in one of those kind of unusual circumstances, in general, if you qualify for Generations Trust, that's the way to go, really, unless you're in something like that. The other thing about regular tuition assistance is that there is no minimum or maximum income requirements. Again, minimum, obviously, no matter what you make, we want, the schools want to make it work for you. And maximum, again, there are, unfortunate, unusual circumstances where people have very, very high expenses through no fault of their own. And so there's no official maximum amount. It really does depend on the circumstances. And for both these, you apply each year. So every year you reapply and they look at your income once again. Okay. The calculator. Okay. So as I mentioned, on the Generations Trust website, there is a calculator, and this is what it asks you. It asks you 2 questions about your income from your T1 or from both guardians T1. How many children do you have in JK through grade 8? As we said, Generations is only for JK through grade 8. So we, for 3 kids. So we ask you how many kids you have. Do you have any kids in high school? Because it doesn't apply. And then there's just a few other very quick questions. Do you or your family member own the business you earn your income from? Yes or no? And we'll go through that example. I want to be clear. It does not mean you don't qualify. You just have to know about it in advance. Do you own property other than your home residence? So the Generations Trust Scholarship, it basically ignores the value of your home residence, but does ask you if you own other property. And then we ask 2 other quick questions. What is the total value of your investments? And do you have any other supplemental income? So it's 8 questions, 4 of which are yes or no. And to be very clear, that's actually the application as well. So the application asks the exact same questions that's on the calculator. You just have to upload some documents, and we'll go through that process. So you enter this information and it pops up with an answer. So this family would say that this family's maximum amount they would pay under Generations Trust is $21,000. So the way it works is, and this I want to be very clear, it gives you a maximum family amount for up to 3 kids in JK through grade 8. So if you have 2 kids, you would basically be paying $10,500 per kid. In this family situation, if they have 3 kids, it's $7,000 per kid. It's $21,000. And that it doesn't matter if that's, it's up to 3 kids. If full tuition is less than $21,000, you would only pay full tuition. So if tuition is $16,000, you only have 1 kid, you would only pay $16,000. It's not the higher of. So it ends up, the way Generations Trust works is it sets a maximum amount for up to 3 kids. So I'll go through a few more examples. So that's example here, family of 1 child. If you put in your income and it says 18,000, most of the schools are under 18,000, so you would just pay full tuition. A few of the schools I think are just at or above, so you might get a small discount. But again, it's a maximum amount you pay for up to 3 kids with Generations. 4+ kids. So it says very clearly that Generations doesn't apply for this situation, but you might be eligible for regular tuition assistance and you should connect with the school. And business owner, and I want to be very clear. If you own your own business, you absolutely still qualify for Generations Trust. In fact, I would say most of the people on Generations Trust own their own business or are some sort of incorporated professional, but the calculator can't calculate that amount for you. The Generations Trust Scholarship Committee needs to just take a look at the business, your business income, and make a determination. So you can't get that you won't get that number in advance, exactly how much your cap will be, but you are absolutely eligible and you should apply. So I want to just be very clear. I know in the past, there have been some people scared off. I asked whether you own your own business and they thought that meant you don't qualify. You absolutely do. It just, the calculator can't give you an answer. You actually need to apply first. Okay. And family with income under 120. So Generations Trust starts at 120. So it tells you essentially you should apply for regular tuition assistance. So you don't qualify for Generations, but you can apply for regular tuition assistance. And if your income is too high, it basically again says you don't qualify, your income's too high, but you should, if there are unusual circumstances, connect with your school and you can talk to them and apply for regular tuition assistance. Okay, so the application.
Before we move on, I see a number of specific questions relating to the Generations Trust Scholarship. So one question is, do we need, what's the tax requirements? So for the Generations Trust Scholarship, we only accept Canadian tax information. And so if you've come from a different country or you have different circumstances, that's fine. Then regular tuition assistance is going to be the program for you. They will consider tax forms from other countries, as well, but for Generations Trust, only your Canadian taxes are eligible. And somebody asked a question about needing a T1. So if you're a business owner or you're self-employed, you'll be asked to upload your T2 or your T2125, whichever the applicable tax form is. So again, depending on those circumstances, you may be asked for alternate tax forms if you don't have a T1.
Yeah, so you absolutely can still qualify if you own your own business. You will just have to provide some additional schedules, or if you're incorporated, the T2, which is the corporate form. Okay, so let's just quickly go through the application process. The first step is to actually apply and register with the school. So reach out to the school. What we're talking about now is really just the tuition assistance program. It is nothing to do with admission to day school. That is completely separate. So you need to reach out to the school. Use the online calculator to help determine which scholarship is right for you. So on generationstrust.ca, you can enter your information. It will either give you information that you're eligible for Generations Trust or refer you to the regular tuition assistance program. So it will help you determine where to go. And then go to UJA communityscholarships.ca, where that's the subsidy portal where you can register for an account and complete your application. So you'll complete the application. The application is reviewed for regular tuition assistance is reviewed by the school. So the school has a tuition committee that reviews those. And Generations Trust, there's a Generations Trust review committee. So it actually goes to 2 different places. And this, in any event, no matter which way you go, the school will be in contact regarding the outcome. So the school is still the main point of contact. Okay, so we have this application checklist. I'm not going to read it all, and it'll actually be emailed to you separately after the end of this webinar when we put together a recording and some PDFs. So these are the requirements for the Generations Trust Scholarship. It's, as we said, it's just based off of income. A little bit, there's some requirements around, assets, but just very minimal. So it's really the questions and the documentation is about your income. Regular tuition assistance.
Do you want to take a minute just to discuss, some people are asking about T4s and maybe just to address the T1 and T4s and how those are related?
Okay, so a little tax lesson.
Yeah.
A T4 is the slip you get from your employer that you then use to fill out your T1, which is your personal tax return. So for Generations Trust, we don't need to see your T4. We just take a look at your T1, which is your personal tax return. So the T4, again, that's that slip that you use to fill out your T1. Okay. On the regular tuition assistance, because it's a more holistic view, it asks for the same income information, some information about your expenses as well as your assets. So more information about your home or your mortgage and vehicles. So those are the two different systems. Again, the Generations Trust is mostly concerned with income, and the regular tuition assistance program is the more holistic view of your financial circumstances. So who do you go for questions? So we at UJA, just to be clear, we help administer the online portal, and we help kind of keep it as one system so that there aren't 14 schools doing 14 different things. But the real people to talk to about any eligibility or application questions is to go to the tuition manager or admissions manager, whatever they call it at your school. Any technical support issues with the portal, that we have our own, we pay for essentially as a support contract with Resolve. So it's UJA help at resolve.ca. And again, that's actually on the portal. So you can just click and find it. But those are for any technical questions. They don't know anything about the different programs and eligibility. That really is just if you can't upload a document or you're locked out of your account or something like that. Any sort of real kind of detailed questions should go to the tuition manager at your school. Some important dates to come up. So in April, which I guess is like in a few days, the regular tuition assistance portal will open. And for that, you use your 2021 tax year. So we're all filing our tax returns now. So it'll open in April. The tax deadline is April 30th. So by May, everyone should have all their information done. It'll open in the next few days. So early birds can get in there. May 1st is actually when Generations closes. So Generations has been open and will stay open until May 1st. Because it's been open, we opened it early. It actually uses the 2020 tax year. So it's a little bit of an overlap, slightly overlap, because we're opening one April and closing one May. But again, April is for the regular tuition assistance, and you need your 2021 tax year, which is the most recent. And because Generations has been open since the fall, essentially, we're still accepting the 2020 up until May 1st. And a little sneak peek of what's to come is we're actually going to be moving up the application deadline. So just like Generations opened in the fall this year, next year in the fall winter time, we're going to open up the regular tuition assistance program. So everything will be on the same schedule, because I know this slide's a bit confusing that Generations opens at a different time than regular tuition assistance. So next year is going to be a catch up, and everything will be moved up to like that fall winter season. Okay, we are up to questions and answers. So Alex, I know you've been monitoring the chat and some questions that came in.
Yes.
Let's get going.
Perfect. So thank you. Please feel free to post your questions in the chat, and I will try to get to all of them. One question has to do with clarification around children in multiple Jewish day schools. So how does that change the application process? I just want to clarify, somebody had asked a question about you have a child in K-8 and a child in high school. What is the best move forward for that family?
So there's actually two questions. So the two questions are, you cannot be on Generations Trust and tuition assistance. So if you have some kids in elementary school and some kids in high school and you need tuition assistance, then the whole family goes on regular tuition assistance. So you cannot be on both tuition assistance and Generations at the same time. Once you need tuition assistance for one, the whole family is on tuition assistance. We do that because it really is a family view, right? It's not, we don't do individual schools or individual kids. It takes a look at the family view. In terms of the actual process, it's actually, I think, really easy. It's actually one application. You just go online, fill it out, you select which schools your kids are in, and the applications automatically go to the right place. So you actually don't have to worry about it. It actually takes place all behind the scenes. So it's all combined on the portal. So two parts. One is you can't be on two different programs. The other part is when you go to apply, you'll actually just send it to the right place as long as you filled it out correctly.
One form. That's right. Perfect. Someone had a question about the tax information for each scholarship type. We did cover that, but just to reiterate, for the 22-23 school year, Generations Trust is accepting 2020 tax year, and for the 22-23 regular tuition assistance, it is accepting the 2021 tax year. Okay, somebody had a question about income requirements for Generations Trust. So maybe you want to just give the minimum income.
Yeah, so the minimum
Trust.
income for Generations Trust is 120,000. That's where it starts to kick in.
Cumulative household income.
Yes, correct. Thank you. Cumulative household income. It ends up just around, now it's a sliding scale. So it ends up maxing out in like the 300,000 range. At that point, a little above that, you end up just paying full tuition because it will return a number that's higher than full tuition for 3 kids at some point. So if you go to the calculator, you can just figure it out. But at some point, it'll start spitting out a number that is just higher than full tuition. So it starts at 120 and starts to peter out around 300,000.
Perfect. And do I need to have registered with the school to complete a scholarship application?
That's a great question. You don't technically have to. So if you maybe I shouldn't mention this. If you go to it doesn't actually stop you from applying for a scholarship. But it just honestly mucks everything up because the school doesn't know who you are and asks, why are we getting this application for a stranger? So please, please, please register with the school first so they, don't get kind of a random application coming through. So it won't literally stop you, but it's just going to create a headache for everyone.
Yeah,
and you'll have to, and they won't look at it. They'll stop. They'll contact you. You'll have to register.
Exactly. We do encourage you to be in touch with the schools first.
It's not gonna get processed until you register.
This is a great question. So we're bouncing all over the place. But a good question came in about the maximum assistance provided for Generations Trust for one child, which is a great question. So the maximum amount, or I suppose the minimum amount you would pay for tuition for one child is $16,500. And so there are a few schools where that does provide a bit of relief. So for that one child, again, it does depend on what school you're at. So we encourage you to be in touch with the school's tuition manager who can let you know if that makes sense for you and your family. Again, the calculator is an amazing tool because it will give you that number and then you can decide if that's the right scholarship for you. And if that 16,500 is still too high, then regular tuition assistance will be the right path for your family. Okay, great. Can I apply for both programs and see which one will give me a better scholarship?
So please don't do that. Generations Trust is almost always better unless you have one of those situations we talked about where you have unusual expenses and there's some sort of situation where you have a very different scenario that needs to be looked at. Unless you're in one of those situations, Generations Trust will be a better deal every time. So don't bother, honestly. Do Generations Trust unless you're in one of those special circumstances, and you can judge for yourself, and the tuition committee will make a decision.
And to that point, I think the calculator really is your best first step. It's really going to guide you in the right direction. So if you're a good candidate for Generations Trust, it's going to tell you, and that's where you need to be. And if it's a hard no, it's also going to guide you towards regular tuition assistance. So that's really the best first place to be. And before you just sort of throw balls in the air for applications, I would speak with your tuition manager. If after using the calculator, you're still unclear which one of these programs is right for you, your tuition manager is going to ask you some further questions and really guide you to the right place. There really shouldn't be any ambiguity about which one is the right one for you.
Yeah, it's a great point. I would say the calculator and talking to the tuition manager at the schools is the best way to go. We definitely don't want people just applying, with just throwing out there, see what happens. So that's, I think, the best thing to do.
And as well, if you apply for generations, you get an answer and that doesn't work for your family, that cap is still unaffordable, you're then welcome to apply for regular tuition assistance as well. So applying for one doesn't mean you can't then later apply for another one. And someone said, made a good point that the calculator won't give you an answer if you're self-employed, you're on your own business, you're not going to get that clean number output from the calculator of what your scholarship will be. And that's where the tuition manager is going to be an excellent partner for you. And, you can share, if you feel comfortable sharing some personal details with them, they can really help you figure out if Generations Trust is going to be a good option for you. Some folks want to know about referring back to this webinar. That's great. We will absolutely send out the recording as well as some documents that we've shared with you. So yes, you'll be able to watch this as many times as you would like. I believe we'll probably might need a day or so, but we will send that to everyone who's registered.
I saw a question here about, do we take into consideration university costs or other so regular tuition assistance absolutely does. There's places to put costs, all sorts of expenses you have, other kids, daycare costs, nursery costs, university costs. So regular tuition assistance does. Generation is really and that's what we've been trying to point out, it's really very much just a calculated value. So it doesn't have the flexibility to make all those considerations, but it also comes with a much more streamlined process. So it is, it goes hand in hand with having that streamlined process. It just doesn't have the same kind of flexibility that the regular tuition assistance program has.
How can I apply for other programs such as camp or March of the Living, Jewish Experiences, programs like that?
So those are on the portal as well. So you can go online and you can see all the different programs that are out there. I just want to be very clear that UJA helps provide the portal, but all those decisions are the individual institutions' decisions. And even Generations Trust, there's a Generations Trust kind of committee. It's a separate fund. It's a separate program. So it is not UJA making any of these decisions. I just want to make that incredibly clear. The applications go to the schools or the camps or March of the Living, whoever's running it, and they're the ones who make the decisions. So we at UJA are trying to create a portal. We're trying to make it easier, but it is not. We're not involved in the decision-making process. So absolutely, you can go online. You can see all the things that are on the portal. But I would say also reach out to those organizations that you're interested in. They'll walk you through the process, because again, we just provide kind of the mechanism to apply, but not, we don't have the details of how the system works.
So the website, the portal that Evan's speaking about, we'll post it in the chat. It's ujcommunityscholarships.ca, and that's your one-stop shop for community scholarships. You can log on there, register for an account. It's a private, secure site. And when you go on, you can see all the programs that are available that are open for scholarship opportunities, and you can apply to as many of them as you'd like. So if you want to apply for camp and part-time school and day school and March of the Living, you can do that all in one place. Thank you, Tamar just posted that in the link. If you've created an account in the past, it'll be the same login information going forward. So you will not have to create another account. Somebody posted a question about, they said they have a child in grade 7, another in high school. So to that point again, if you have one in high school and one in elementary, most likely regular tuition assistance will be the path forward for you. If you have one child at Tannenbaum Chat and another child in elementary school, probably reach out to Chat's tuition manager, and they'll be able to do a quick calculation and give you the fees you'd be paying combined, and then you can decide if that's going to be right for you, or again, regular tuition assistance will be right for you. So your tuition managers are going to be definitely helpful if you're unsure. Yes, we will be giving you handouts and recordings from all of this. Okay, any other questions?
I saw a question about yeshiva tuition. Absolutely, that goes in with I think it's I don't know if it's the same question or a different question. We ask about university or anything post high school. So that gets looked at as well.
Right. So because the Generations Trust scholarship doesn't take any expenses, those things aren't looked at, whereas the regular tuition assistance has an entire expense section, which would include all of your kids' schooling. Again, some tax clarification questions. So to compare sort of apples to apples for the Generations Trust, it is only the 2020 tax year. If circumstances have changed between now and then and your 2020 taxes doesn't quite reflect your current financial reality, then regular tuition assistance would be the way for you. You would give your 2021 taxes and have a chance to sort of explain how your circumstances have changed in the last year. And again, as Evan mentioned, going forward, it will be the same tax year, but it is different at this time.
Yeah, it's amazing that all these different options exist. Like for years, there was only one thing. There's regular tuition assistance. And now we added Generations, and Jewish Free Loan started doing things, and Tenenbaum Chat added their own program. So we know it can be a little confusing. We actually are working behind the scenes to try to make this, amalgamate this as much as possible. It's not always so simple. They're funded from different places and different criteria. So we appreciate that this is there's a lot out there, and that's why we're having this webinar to walk people through it. And we will be trying over the next little while to kind of amalgamate them into a much more straightforward way of accessing these different programs. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and especially because there's so many different funding sources and criteria, it's not the easiest thing to do. So we're happy to do these webinars or reach out to the tuition manager, and they can help walk you through the different programs.
Somebody wants to know if you'll be notified by email when the portal opens. So as Evan mentioned, it is open now for Generations Trust. It will be open April 1st for regular tuition assistance. Notifications will typically come from your child's school about specific dates. So sort of be in touch with them, and if you're looking for a specific opening date beyond the 2 we just gave you, then please feel free to reach out to your schools.
And we got a question about how far in advance you could apply. So right now, the applications are open or will open very shortly for the 2022-2023 school year. In the fall winter time, it'll be for the 2023-2024. So if you're looking to end your child to start school 23-24, then sit tight for a little bit and apply, in the fall winter time when it reopens for that year.
Again, if you're having concerns, you're still welcome to use the calculator. You're still welcome to reach out to your tuition manager, and have those conversations about what, fee you can expect to pay. They might be able to give you some further guidance, even though you can't officially put in an application.
So we have a question: can different schools provide different tuition assistance for the same family? So that's a great question. One of the, our role is to run the subsidy system, and one of the things we looked at is Toronto is unique in that we really view it as a per family assessment. So behind the scenes, the schools, every school you apply to will talk to each other, come up with a fee, and then provide. So you don't have to play one school off the other. You don't have to run back and forth saying like, well, how can I pay you X if the other school wants Y? All the schools within our system kind of work together and approach the family as one. So you're not in a situation where you have to kind of work across multiple organizations. It's all done together. So it's a great question. I just wanted to clarify that as well, that it's a nice feature of our system that we don't stick parents in the position of having to run around to different institutions. If they're in the system, then all the schools work together. Okay, just looking through.
Just again, that regular tuition assistance is going to open April 1st. That's in a few days, April 1st. Again, 2021 taxes, if you don't have it, that's fine. It's not going to close. We don't have a closing date for it yet. So that will open April 1st, and you'll have a few months to apply for that. Great question. Somebody says that they're not sure about school in the fall. And so if Generations Trust closes, they should still apply to get your application in. Yeah, I would encourage you. It's, if you'd like to apply, you're certainly welcome to. Even though I guess we're closing May 1st, should you require an extension on that deadline, we can certainly work with you. And that May 1st deadline isn't sort of a hard, fast deadline. We'd, like to encourage you to get it in as soon as possible. Certainly if, you think you might need to go to regular tuition assistance, we want to leave as much time for you and your school to be able to, complete those 2 separate applications. But there is some flexibility with that deadline. So not to worry.
we want more kids in day school. So if at the end of the day you decide very late, we will, absolutely try to make it work. We do ask though that you get it in as soon as possible, as soon as it's just makes it a lot easier on everyone if we don't drag this out. But absolutely, there are circumstances where it's a last minute change, and we will. The whole point of this is to get more kids into day school, so we're not gonna turn people away. The good question about, do you cap how much assistance each scholarship provides, a first come first serve, and how much funding? Actually, it works the other way. The schools give out as much scholarship as they need to, and then through UJA funding and the school's own fundraising, they plug the hole. So it's actually the reverse. They make sure to give as much scholarship as they need to, and obviously, the schools have their own budgets to meet, but they absolutely do not have an official cap or number or anything like that. Whoever applies and qualifies will get, and then the burden is on UJA and the schools to fill that gap.
We did talk about summer camps. So right now, the summer camps that are on the Community Scholarships portal are our overnight camps. So as of now, day camps are not on there, but stay tuned in the future. Right now, it's just our overnight camps that are on there for scholarships.
So we had some questions about how long it takes to get a reply. So for Generations Trust, we say, I think 6 weeks. Frequently, it's much faster than that. I think the first year we got so inundated that it went a little longer than that, but we caught up. So I would say we try to say 6 weeks. For the regular tuition assistance, I'd say it's not the Generations Trust Committee, which we're more involved with. It's the individual school. So reach out to the individual school. They'll know. It really does depend on how the school functions, how many applications that school has. But the school should be able to give you a better answer as to how long it should take on a regular tuition assistance. Okay.
Just in terms of next steps or who to contact, just a reminder, when you're on the website, if you have any technical questions, there is a big technical assistance button. We'll post it in the link. If you have any questions, your tuition manager at your school will be a great asset. If you're not sure who the tuition manager is at your school, if you go to that generationstrust.ca page and you scroll down, it will be a list of all of the UJA affiliated schools and the tuition manager's contact information there. So you can certainly find out who to be in touch with at which school, and they'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you about your family and work with you to make sure that day school feels accessible to you.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining. We'll be sending out a recording of this as well as a PDF with the documentation required, so that for your reference. And again, the calculator is your best friend, as well as the contacts with individual schools. Between those two, you'll be in good hands. Thank you and have a great night.